The name of this episode is Times They Are a Changin'.
It absolutely is not.
Oh, it's not?
The name of this episode is Cha-Cha-Cha Changes.
Yeah, the name of this episode is For Every Time There Is a Season. It's biblical.
No, the name of Ecclesiastes is For Every Time There Is a Season. The name of this episode is Cha-Cha-Cha Changes.
All right, the name of this episode is Cha-Cha-Cha Changes.
Unless you're watching the opening credits of The Watchmen, in which case, yes, you can then get all Bob Dylan on us.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah.
I also, because you said Ecclesiastes, I have to give a shout out to Alexina, who recently called, was like, hey, did you know that there's a book in the Bible that's written by some emo kid? And I was like, you're talking about Ecclesiastes and King Solomon, aren't you? And she was like, that guy is so emo. I was like, that's actually a great way to describe that book. So yeah, anyway, times they are changing.
No, cha-cha-cha changes. You just now want to mess with me. Okay, but the reason why is because years ago when we had Cloud TNT, we were literally recording a podcast with you, me, and Joni on the exact day that David Bowie died. Matter of fact, it came up on CNN while we were recording. And then we ended the episode with a David Bowie song. So there you go. It's longitudinal consistency that only makes sense in my head and my head alone. But because this is our podcast, I can inflict it on all of you.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you for the infliction.
Absolutely.
Is it I think it's affliction, right? Affliction. Not infliction.
I mean, for the affliction. Someone just used the phrase with me, put the Maloik on. And I was like, I haven't heard that since Long Island on the East Coast when I was a child. So I don't even know if it's something you can say anymore, but I just did. And here you go.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Put the Maloik on someone is to sort of put the evil eye or the curse on them. It's something I haven't heard since decades. So,
well, okay. So, what is changing? And we want to talk about things that are changing, but we want to start with what's not changing. And what is not changing is us doing this podcast. And that is very near and dear to us, because you all have now listened to us over 11,000 times. And that is really amazing. We're kind of shocked about that because it's really started as just like hey, like you remember when we had like pieces of paper we were holding up and all of that. And so
zero production value. I was trying to do Photoshop and Final Cut Pro on a MacBook Air, which anybody who's ever attempted that will sympathize with that. And then Tim was like, oh, good God, how much time are you putting into this? And I was like, as long as it takes to render. So thank you, Connor, for becoming our editor in that moment.
Absolutely. And on that point, we love hearing from you. So we'll say this multiple times, but let us know that you're listening to us. We like hearing that and what you like. So okay. So just about the podcast, like there's a couple of things that we want to say about like what's going on with podcasts, because some stuff is changing even in the podcast, but it won't affect your listening to it. What it will affect is that you can continue to listen to it. So Tracy, take it away on that.
Sure. So here's the scoop, folks. We started this podcast in September 2020 to basically have conversations with people that we wouldn't ordinarily work with, but we wanted to know. And for a long time, it was right off the side of our desk. And then it became more. And part of why it became more is because of the guests we had. And part of why it became more is because of the folks who were tuning into it. And we take our commitment to have vulnerable and mind-expanding conversations and broaden the thinking of folks who serve the impact economy very seriously. So we incorporated it as part of my job in Now It Matters, which was director of innovation. And what we've now done is spin up Why It Matters as its own official business and entity and production. And Tim and I are now officially co-owners of Why It Matters. So Why It Matters is not changing. If anything, it's expanding and growing. We have a new website. It will be whyitmatters.xyz. Yes, .xyz. Very crypto, very now, very, very posh. And we are still committed to our core values of having conversations with the people behind the service to the impact economy for IT. So that's a few of the things that are not changing at all. Also, what's not changing is my constant like shifting up and down and left and right to both position myself correctly in front of the microphone and mitigate glare on my glasses at the same time for those of you who watch the video.
Yeah, for any of you who watch the videos, our apologies on multiple
Yeah.
fronts for all of the
Yeah,
shuffling and eyes
truly.
looking everywhere. I cannot stand watching myself on that, but
Oh, I
you know,
hate it too, but I know there's people
but
who
I like
watch
that. I
them,
actually
and you
do
know,
like watching. Yeah, I don't think you're weird. I think I'm weird. I think it's just like, you know,
that's
listening.
funny because I'm like, Tim is so like normal and monotone, and I'm like twitching and shrugging and shaking and moving up and down and everything. So yeah,
I'll also
it's,
say
you
what's
know,
not going to change is that this is fun. Like it is so easy to talk. Like of all the things I've done, of which there are quite a few that are really challenging and difficult, and just you muddle your way through and you make it. This has been like so easy to just hit record and talk to a friend about things that are interesting and real. And, you know, and I'm sure it's goofy and I don't care. Like, that's fine. So that's probably not going to change either. And so that, yeah, that's been great. Something you can continue to count on
yeah.
is that we will be here talking and bantering about things that matter
And
in
for
the
those
impact
of you
economy.
who are watching on YouTube, you can absolutely count on the awkward video. Absolutely.
Yes, there you go.
You know, there
All
you
right.
go.
So what things are changing then, I think is the big question. Before we move off of that, I've got an ask for you as listeners and watchers. We have, since we do have an actual full up website domain of whyitmatters.xyz, we want to get mail. We want to get some mail from our listeners. And so you can email hello@whyitmatters.xyz and let us know that you're listening. You can send us questions. You can complain about how, you know, much Tracy talks and shuffles and looks all over the screen. You can
Dominates
complain,
all the things. Just, you know, steamrolls, you know.
complain about me being in black and white. So complaining is totally fine. We won't change a thing, but you're welcome to complain. It's like definitely the suggestion box. No, we would love to hear about that. Then we would love to hear what content, what questions, who, you know, who do you know that we should have on this show and talk with? What voices are we listening to? And we do want to find the voices that are saying things that are extraordinary and that people may not know about, as something that we've really enjoyed is finding those voices. So and then I want to just throw in there, we've done a lot now. Like I'm old.
Yeah,
like,
I'm old
just
too. I'm
happened.
gonna
I don't
say something about being
right.
old, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And we know a lot about the tech and nonprofit career trajectories. And so I just want to say, if that's interesting to you, if careers working in this space, if that's interesting, send us questions about that. We would love to answer questions about a career in the nonprofit tech space. So
Yeah. And I'll also say, to the point of being old, like, you know, I really do. I'm more of something years old. And one of the interesting things that happens is when you're young, you have flexible memory and mind space, and that offers you the ability to approach your work and approach your life in a certain modality. When you age, flexible memory and mind space becomes crystalline, and it gives you a different type of wisdom and a different type of perspective on your work. And the world needs both of those. But one thing I will say is true is, now that I think I personally have a heck of a ton of folks involved with whatever the heck I post on LinkedIn, folks have called me out on a few things because crystalline memory doesn't always keep up with new terminology. So, like, you can do that too. And generally, my response is, sure, made that mistake, no worries. And that's all right too. Um, and we are of a certain generation that kind of straddles old and new, both Tim and I, and we're aware of that. And so therefore, hello at Now It Matters, or excuse me, hello at whyitmatters.xyz is your line to our podcast, and you should feel free to use it.
Yeah, that so true about memory and
Oh,
all the rest. Yeah,
memory.
yeah.
Also, when you
I think
get old,
that's
you
the
tend to
old dog, new
idolize
tricks.
the 70s, and you're like, man, I just wish it could be 1978 all over again. So
Yeah, I don't. I am
for the
not like that
music
about the
alone,
70s.
God,
Well, the music, sure.
I can't wait to introduce our kids to like Pink Floyd and all that stuff. Anyhow, yeah. So,
So let's get into what is changing. I think people are probably excited to hear.
so
Um,
here's what's going on, folks. I am departing Now It Matters as director of innovation, and I am starting a new role at a new company. That announcement is going to be made on LinkedIn in very short order and in the coming days. And matter of fact, LinkedIn now is the only place you can find me. I've killed all of my social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter. I don't think I had anything else. Maybe I have other things, but if you see my name there, you can guarantee I don't even know I'm there. So there you go. Unless, of course, you're on Nextdoor out here in Livermore,
what
and you'll
about MySpace?
understand.
Did you shut down your MySpace?
I couldn't understand MySpace, so I never got into it. Um, unless you're on Nextdoor out here in Livermore, in which you'll understand that this is an entire town comprised of Agatha Harknesses, which the Marvel nerds will recognize out there. In which case, we all have to have our knitting circles and busybodies, and gosh darn it, you got to keep abreast somewhere. So,
Livermore is really cute, by the way.
oh,
Like
it's a
I just got
I
a.
love
I
this
was
town.
just there visiting you, and yeah, it was very fun, very cute.
Being marginally involved with city politics also like lets me quote Ghostbusters a lot. The Bill Murray line where he's like, I gotta go, I gotta rap with the mayor now. Which is hilarious because we're such a small town. It's like 100,000 people, and we have a 5-person city leadership. So it's like actually not very hard to do that out here, but it still is fun. So
Congratulations.
yeah,
So, first,
yeah.
how do you feel about? So today is
Today
your
is,
last hour
yeah, last
as
hour, last
director of
minutes.
innovation
After
at Now
we
It
hang up
Matters.
here, I'm gonna
I
go run over to where we're
right,
storing our camper and go
yeah.
grab that thing and punch out for a few days on the coast with Amy, and that'll be great.
So I'm going to get personal here for a second,
Oh no.
and yeah, no, you knew this was coming,
Ah,
and say first of all to our listeners, there is no friction at all about Tracy leaving. There are no hard feelings. I did not fire Tracy. In fact, there has been
help me.
conversation.
No.
Conversation. That was awesome. Conversation for a long time about what does this look like, and as you're wondering what's next in your career, and from day one, at Now It Matters, it was such a unique moment in time. So first of all, I have loved working with you. Like
The very same.
it has been. I think you're one of the few people that has worked here that I've not made cry, which I'm so happy about. And it's been. I think that there were moments in the past where I was like, I wonder if I should bring Tracy on, and I think that there was a lot of fear on my end that it would interrupt or like leave us without a friendship at the end if it went badly. And with you and I being such strong personalities, I was like, what are the odds on it going badly? Very high. Don't hire your friends. All of that.
Yeah.
And so our
I
first
mean,
conversation was like,
to get biblical, neither a borrower nor lender be.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my gosh. Like I have so many thoughts about what that
I
actually
know Bible stuff.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, that's all. Well, and then the other thing is that in a moment where I was like, I know that Tracy's looking for something, and I know that I actually just got PPP funding to bring on and to ensure that people have jobs. Like this is in exactly center line on what this funding is supposed to be used for, that it lined up. And I remember calling Dan Lamont and just saying, hey, I want to gut check really quickly. Like, what do you think about this? And Dan was just like, it's not even a question. Do it. Like in a heartbeat, do it. And so thanks for that advice, Dan. Shout out to you for that. And then you and I talked about like, okay,
Yeah.
well, like let's do this for 6 weeks. Cause at that point we thought the pandemic was going to be a 6-week thing.
2
like
weeks.
maybe.
Remember that, folks? We're going to hang
Oh
out
my gosh,
inside for
flatten the
2 weeks
curve.
and the whole
Flatten the
pandemic
curve.
will be gone.
Oh my gosh. So I was like, let's do a review at 6 weeks and see if it's working. And then I said, and at 6 months and at 1 year. And I was just like, and let's also like make sure that if it's not going well, either of us can say that and all of that. And I didn't really know what to expect, but every time we talked about that, it just felt like, yeah, this works really well. So much so that I finally in September went to you and said, I think that we need to make Why It Matters its own property so that for sure we can
keep this thing moving on
this. And I think so.
Well, I'll tell you how that looked when I was interviewing for this new role. And that is I was in my third and final round of interview where they sort of take you out and put you in front of like the executive leadership of the organization. And I was talking to one of the like SVPs and telling him truly like all the things we've done at Now It Matters and the stuff we've built and the pivots we've made and the places we found ourselves. And he was like, wait a minute. So why the hell do you want to leave? And I was like, wait, no, stop. It's about bigger changes,
Yeah.
like,
right. Yeah. It's about bigger changes and paychecks. So yeah, absolutely.
Small business has its absolute ups and downs, as we all know.
Yeah. Well, and also you should be, I think what's been clear in the last few months is how we have our expert areas.
Yeah.
And that they're not the same, even though we've been on this journey together. They're not the same. And I'll talk about my journey in just a minute, but in the midst of that journey, it's been clarifying, even these conversations have been clarifying to say like, what is it that we're best at and that we can do? And it's very clear that you think about the platform world so uniquely and about the way that partnerships work, the way that businesses work, the way that the future of this is going to look different than the past has looked. And so I know we're not saying what your new role is, but I'm very excited because I think you're going to create so much change at that role in a way that you couldn't at Now It Matters. You just didn't have the visibility for that. And I think that, we created a lot of mindset together on a way that we could do this whole stuff differently. And I feel like it's really, I'm so excited about seeing you take that with you to where you're going next. So
yeah, and I've really, to sort of put a fine point on it, I've learned so much being part of this journey here. We were talking earlier about how this job positioned me to understand leadership in a new way, and I think I've learned so much from you, and I mean, you and I were so cautious. We were like, we have to create an eject button in case our friendship feels threatened by this. And in the end, it was like the conversation we wound up having was like, gosh, this is sad. This is changes, but I also miss like friend Tim, you know, just like
Yep.
not boss Tim or not coworker Tim. So we're excited about what's next because this will keep us hopefully knocking our heads together, and we each are going to go on to a couple of endeavors. So one final point we'll make before I turn it over to you to wrap, Tim, is as I settle in the new role, there's probably going to be a little bit of a pause in our programming. That pause will probably hit over the summertime. And that's probably going to be okay because a lot of folks go away and travel and do stuff anyhow. So we are going to figure all of that out. And it'll just take a little bit of time because schedules and coordination and all that good stuff. But when we do, we'll be right here and right back in your ear. Wow, that
Yeah,
rhymed. That was
I know that
terrifying
was
that
good.
that rhymed.
I liked it. I liked
No,
it. It was
God.
good.
I felt why
And though
couldn't have I
and
just said I'm vengeance like Batman? I don't know.
that made no sense in context, and your
I
thing
don't,
that you did say did. But
we'll be
besides that,
right
no.
here and I'm vengeance. There.
No, I think in your ear like works a lot better.
Okay.
Um,
Right here and in your ear. Tim,
yeah,
why
there you
don't
go.
you close off with what's going on with you next?
Yeah, so this is very, very like this is a lot for me to say, but I will also be starting a new job. And that job is going to be CEO of the Human Stack, which is the brand that I'm starting up as a way to engage what we've been talking about here and everywhere else. And I was explaining to somebody as this is something I can't not do. Like this is what's in my bones is seeing the Human Stack really come to life and being just as thought of just as legitimately as the tech stack. And so what does that look like? That looks like a new brand. Um, you know, if you are a Now It Matters client, do not panic.
Yeah.
What we will be
Check the
pivoting.
Hitchhiker's Guide. Don't
Yeah,
panic.
exactly. Yeah, don't panic. And I think I've talked with all of our clients about this and let them know that there's this change coming, and it will probably not mean that much. For me, it feels really monumental because Now It Matters and the, you know, has just been so part of me and our family for, you know, since 2010. And you know, I was talking with a friend about this, and I've gotten counsel from so many really great people about what to call it, what to think about it. Like, you know, is it time? Should I do this? And it's really scary to step into that new entity. But I think what really makes me feel like I need to do this, and even though I'm like stopping a brand that I've been so dedicated to for so long, is that that brand really has been about the tech stack, and it's like right in there, the
Yep.
IT. And I think the tech stack is incredibly important. I'm not, you know, like you and I have said, like it makes a big difference, and we need to do that well. But there are a lot of brands out there that are configuring the tech stack all the time and evolving the tech stack. And I feel like there's a unique space for me to be talking about the Human Stack as its own thing. And there are not, like, that isn't out there being talked about. And so that's kind of my thing. So I'll be stepping into that. The details of that, the website, all of that, like forthcoming. This is a big foreshadow, and a big scary step forward for me just to say it publicly. So it's kind of nice to have this as a way to do that. But it's all underlining one big fact, which is that Why It Matters is well named. It's well named because we do need to keep talking about why this does matter, why, you know, why the tech is important, why what we're doing with it is important, and that those conversations are going to be continuing right here in your ear going forward, and we're excited about that.
Yeah. Super excited. Also, you know, the Human Stack is so much better of a brand than the runner up, which I think was what time is it right now.com. Was that the runner-up? What time is
Something
it
like
right
that.
now? Now it's time right now.com.
Yeah, it was
No,
now matters.
now matters.
Like
Time now matters. Mattering
time.
time. I
Yeah,
don't know.
right.
And I'll only echo what Tim said, and that is, I am so grateful for all of the folks out there who have tuned into us, who send me little notes on LinkedIn, who keep us honest. And it is really important to keep digging into the why, because why is the fundamental premise of a generative discussion, and all things begin with dialogue. So looking forward to continuing ours with you.
Thanks, partner.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon. This is Tracy Kronzak.
And I'm Tim Lockie.
And you've been listening to Why It Matters, an independent production that captures our passions, personalities, and purpose for technology as applied to the impact economy.
All of that's important, but even more important, we are here to have fun and introduce some of the people and ideas that keep us up at night and get us out of bed in the morning.
We are so grateful that you've been listening to us. We have no idea why you'd want to do that. Maybe you lost a bet. Maybe you're stuck in a car with someone else controlling the sound system. Or maybe you are truly interested in what we have to say.
Whatever the reason, whether it's a bet or you're a believer, would you hit subscribe? Or if you've already done that, would you mind leaving us a review? And if you're really brave or want to punish someone, please recommend this podcast to your friends, enemies, and family.
And all kidding aside, thanks for tuning in, and we are so glad that you're here.